Blessings and greetings and blessings, blessed souls. We're live because we're meritting to stay alive in this most existential of moments with the intent being configured to Torah Chaim, instructions of life, Torah Chesed, instructions of kindness, Torah Rachamim, instructions of mercies. I want to share with you something that came to my attention a couple of days ago, within the last week or so, actually. Excuse me. And you see, I put some tape in front of the camera with the intent of the emphasis should not be my gesticulations or the eye contact I make with the camera, but rather the content I want to share with you. And with that being said, further, I want to dedicate this humble submission effort to the Ila Nishmas of my wonderful mother-in-law, Rivka Fatuna, Aliyah Shalom, Bas Daniel, Oliver Shalom, and also for Bocher Tamim, Eliyahu ben Menachem Hashem Yinikom Domo. So in a discussion that I heard between two wise young men who've been through the cycles of life, these are not 25, 30, or even 40-year-olds, these are men in their early 50s, that in their journey, they have encountered intense loneliness and isolation. Now, I also, in my journeys, have experienced that, but more or less at a young age, when I was in my late teen years or early 20s, until I found the Torah lifestyle. As opposed to these two gentlemen in their probably they started their journey late 30s or 40s. But for me to give them advice how to get rid of that loneliness, I'd be coming from such a totally different context. I don't know if my advice would really be fitting. However, the Creator was merciful, because I did take to heart what those two gentlemen spoke about. Lo and behold, I came across a teaching by Rabbeinu Bachya ibn Pukuda, an 11th century scholar from Spain, who wrote a seminal book which has been translated into English. And it is called Chavos Lavavos, or Chavot Lavavot, duties of the heart, or duties of the hearts. And there's a particular section called Shar B'Tachon, the gate of trust. Now, there is a prophecy concerning the importance of trusting in the Almighty. And we get a prophecy from Jeremiah. Yirmiyahu Hanavi was also known as the prophet to the nations. In Jeremiah, or Yirmiyahu chapter 7, verse 7, chapter 17, verse 7, blessed be the man who places trust in the Creator. So, again, the point is based on what I wanted to share with those two gentlemen. Although I've spoken to them privately about these matters, I thought I would speak about it publicly. Again, infuse it with the knowledge of someone who had Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration, certainly a more sturdy tree of comprehension and understanding than my own mere years here, someone born 900 years after this great sage, or 800 years after this great sage. But first, I just want to mention, perceiving what surrounds us is crucial to our development. And sometimes we experience very, very intensely awareness that provokes significant changes in our lives. Let's consider what surrounds us. For those who have been blessed, we can be surrounded by one's own personal family after one has attained a certain level of maturity, namely, one's wife and one's children, or if by the female, one's husband and one's children. Then, within that circle are the household members and relatives, on both sides of the family, the husband's side and the wife's side. There are friends, and unfortunately, there are enemies who arise as well. There are intimate friends who one can share one's deepest secrets, and there are mere acquaintances where we go through the human dialogue of niceties and not getting too deep with them because we're just passing through and they're passing through our lives. Like, say you're driving down a highway and you're going in one direction, the other car is going the other direction. And sometimes you turn on your windshield wiper or your lights to remind them they should turn on their windshield wipers and lights if it's a rainy day and it's already holding by dusk. Then there are people who are above us in social rank and economic standing, as well as those who are below our economic standing or social standing. So with all these different types of surroundings we may find ourselves, Rabbeinu Bachya wants us to focus on the proper way of relying on the Creator concerning all these scenarios. Because two basic scenarios are, either one is living as a stranger in one's environment, one lives among family and friends. If a person is a stranger, that's where the loneliness kicks in. And many people feel vulnerable when they feel like they're lonely. Whether they're physically lonely or sometimes a person can be in a crowd and feel lonely. But yet, Rabbeinu Bachya wants us to know, wherever you or I feel lonely, blessed souls, there is one constant companionship that we can embrace. And that is to find companionship with the Almighty Creator, who so decreed that we should come into this world. Now, if we do find ourselves in a situation where we are the stranger, we are the lone one, wherever we may be, that is exactly time we can activate that strength, that human experience of trusting in the Almighty. Where can we find a precedent, the fact that we feel lonely in our physical manifestation? Rabbeinu Bachya wants us to know that our soul is also a stranger in this world, not just the physical flesh that makes up our physical persona, but what we truly are in our essence is a soul that's been sent down on a mission to be enclosed in a human body. There is a oral Torah commentary called Marped LaNefesh. The soul originates from and is a part of the Almighty. And it travels down into the physical and materialistic world for a divine purpose. The soul's natural state and desire is to be connected to Creator and is a stranger in this world. Now, considering that the primary and distinguishing quality of a man or a woman is his or her soul, then each and every person is, in a certain and real sense, a stranger. Because we all are individual entities. King Solomon wrote about this. The soul of a human, the soul of a man, the soul of a woman is a fire of the Almighty. And you can learn more about that in the book of Proverbs, chapter 20, verse 27. This means just like a flame is always naturally drawn upwards, having an innate desire to separate from the wick and ascend upwards, so too the soul of human being has a desire to leave the body and reunite in its root and source, the living life, which is the Creator, the source of all life. The Baal HaTanya, the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, writes how the soul is incarcerated in a physical body. And that's chapter 19 in Likutei Moharan, also known as Sefer Shalbenim, the Tanya. So we see there is a sense of isolation that we can feel, but we are already living in a state of isolation, and not in the negative sense, but in the sense of we've been given this beautiful opportunity, blessed souls, to consider. We live in isolation with our own particular bodies, as opposed to where we came from, when all the souls are as one entity, hewn out of one giant soul quarry. If I reflect on the following, I have a soul which is literally a part of the Creator, and my actions can affect this piece of the Creator within me. Therefore, I need to have mercy on the Creator, who, so to speak, is in exile within my body, because it's a piece of the Creator which is a part of my existence, which is living in my body. For that purpose, I should reunite it with the source of our soul, everyone's soul, your soul, my soul, with the study of Torah and the forms of mitzvahs, commandments. Now consider how happy you must be that you have been given this opportunity. Your mission, your job in this world, your shlichus, to take your soul out of this exile and reunite it with the Creator. The analogy given, as mentioned in Tanya, chapter 31, imagine you've been the catalyst that causes the son of a king who has been kidnapped and has been rotting in jail to be reunited with his father, the king. So be happy with your lot. As we mentioned before, it's incumbent upon a person, a human being, to bear in mind that the soul is a stranger in this world, and the inhabitants of this earth are like strangers on it. For it says in the scripture, in the book of Vayikra, or Leviticus, chapter 25, verse 23, for to me you are strangers and temporary residents. It's worthwhile for us to think about whoever has living relatives. Again, we will be left in a short while like a solitary stranger. For ultimately neither relative nor child will help him or her, and not one of them will accompany him or her when they go to the next level of life. The Pas Lechem, commenting on the inhabitants of the earth are like strangers on it. Pas Lechem talks about all inhabitants of this world, even those who consider themselves of great lineage, are essentially described as strangers. Our Talmudic sages, our masters of the oral Torah tradition of Israel, explain why the creation of man differed from the creation of other living species, and why, among other things, man was created as a single individual, and like other living beings, created in pairs. One of the reasons our sages declare is that the Creator's design for the human species, all human beings everywhere in all time should know that each and all descend from the one and the same single progenitor, a fully developed human being created in the image of Creator, so that no human being could claim superior ancestral origin. Hence, once we come to this awareness, even at the time when we're feeling loneliness, or feeling like strangers, we will find it easier to cultivate a real feeling of kinship in all interhuman relationships. That was a teaching from Lubavitcher Rebbe from the 15th of Mar Cheshvan, 5752, 1991. Concluding, it's incumbent upon a human being to consider that he or she is freed from the heavy burden of ultimately supporting relatives and fulfilling obligations towards them. And regardless, this is one of the blessings of the Creator has bestowed upon him or her. For if he or she is busy with the secular interests in providing for his material needs, his or her labors are lighted out, wife or child, or husband or child, and their absence means rest for him and is beneficial for him. And if he or she is concerned about his or her latter end, his mind is undoubtedly clear and freer when he's in a state of solitude. So when we reach those lonely moments, blessed souls, it's actually a wondrous time to think more clearly and really be freed from the burdens which can be associated with living in this world. It's not a dour look, it's not a negative look, it's a realistic look. There's nothing Pollyannish about this perspective. So, have I said anything new? Well, I personally haven't said anything new. Rather, I've shared with you teachings that are from the 11th century by man Rabbi Bachia ben Akuda, excuse me, Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration. So we'll end with this note. that we've all got to be good. I've got to be good. You've got to be good. We've all got to be good because the Teva Tov, the Hativ, it's the nature to do good. The Creator, who's the source of our goodness, waits ever so patiently for us to activate that goodness. Now, we activate this goodness right now in a way of a Havachad, one love, girl Echad, one destiny Kulana for all of us. B'darchinam darki shalom, in a pleasant, peaceful way. Have a good night. If you're getting it in the morning, sing this archive version. Have a good morning. And let us not be intimidated by our loneliness and our solitude, but really seeing that as us becoming privy to become more awoken to the fact that from the get-go, we are alone. But then again, it's a type of loneliness which is within a certain context to propel us in our meditations and our acts of kindness and our prayers and our learning of Torah, performance of mitzvahs, in a way to make this world more sustainable and to take away the loneliness that others may feel, to remind them, while we can have companionship and fellowship and all the good things that are connected with human socialization, we have to also give primary importance to the act of feeling alone and feeling as a stranger, and use it as a catalyst to realize, even wherever we may be, we have strangers upon this earth. The song goes, spirits in the material world, but to make this material world a conduit for more revelations of Elokus, godliness. May it be right now, which will kick in. So there's a preface, a hachana, preparation, the universal redemption, all 7.7 billion human beings gleaming and streaming into the creation, all blessed. You never should be disappointed to know that they've been anointed with the divine image, a Tzelem Elokim, which is no dream. This is Anti-Eugenics Torah. Take care, everyone.